Hey everyone, Chandler Bolt here, and welcome to today's training. Excited for you guys to be here. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to get started in just 1 second. We got a ton of people registered for this thing today, so it should be a great crowd. And first things first, if you can just let me know, A, that you can hear me, B, that you can see me, and then C, where you're tuning in from. So you should see me waving here, and should also, you should see me waving and you should hear me talking, and let me know where you're tuning in from, and let me know that you can hear both of those things. I see Joel from Kent, Ohio, Deborah from Missouri, Kathleen from Tampa, Florida, Beth from St. Louis, Mike from Salt Lake City, Arnoot from the Netherlands. Nice. We got Jennifer from Detroit, John, Alberta, Canada, Ebo from Knoxville, Tennessee. These are like coming in so fast that I can barely keep up. Jim, Anderson, South Carolina. That's near my old stomping grounds. So just in Greenville and Walhalla for to see my folks a little while back. Florida, Minnesota, North Carolina. Love it. Well, awesome. Let's get this thing kicked off. I hope that you are excited. I hope that you're ready to learn and you're ready to pay attention, because we're going to move fast, and I'm going to cover a lot of ground on this training here today. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you can see a little PowerPoint here, and then we're going to be off to the races. So you should now see my screen. I'm going to go full screen, and I'm going to ask you to comment one more time. Let me know that you can still hear me, and now you should see my screen. You shouldn't see me, but you should see my screen. And if you'll let me know that, then we will get going here. So, oh, no way. James says, actually, I believe that I work with your grandpa or grandfather. No way. What a small world. All right. Everyone's got it. Sweet. So this is what we're going to be talking about. So we're going to spend, probably the next hour or so together here. And basically how this will work was I'll teach for the next, 47 minutes. Then we'll open it up to a Q&A. And you can ask any and all questions that you have. So feel free to ask questions as we go, and I will save those for the end. And then last thing before we get started, just make sure that you turn off all distractions. So close the door to your office if you're in an office. Turn off your phone or turn on Do Not Disturb mode. Close out Facebook. I need your full and undivided attention. And also make sure that you have something to take notes with. If you'll do those two things, I can promise that you're going to learn a lot over the next 57 minutes or so that we'll be spending here together. Now, first things first, if we haven't got the chance to meet, my name is Chandler Bolt. I'm originally from Walhalla, South Carolina. It's a small town in the middle of nowhere that you've likely never heard of, except for maybe James and a couple other folks. But that's where I'm originally from. I'm the author of 6 best-selling books, the first of which I wrote at age 19. I made hundreds of thousands of dollars from my books and taught thousands of people to write and publish their first book through my company, Self-Publishing School. So this is a business that I've built to over $10 million in the last 4 years. So I feel like I know the business side of being an author really well, and also the author side, so the book side. So my goal is to merge those two things for you here today on this presentation. And now the last thing I'll mention here is that I did all this by being a C- English student and a college dropout, which I'll probably tell you about later. But so if I can do it, then you definitely can as well. Now, a fun fact that not many people know about me, and this actually has nothing to do with the presentation, just that I would be a bad brother if I didn't mention this. And that's that my brother actually plays in the Grammy-nominated rock and roll band called Need to Breathe. So I don't know if we have any Need to Breathe fans in the house. Maybe if we do, you can comment in the chat and let me know. But this is him. His name's Seth here over on the left-hand side. So Need to Breathe is awesome. He's awesome. If you haven't checked out their music, you should check it out. Like I said, I'd be a bad brother if I didn't mention that. So looks like Beth, Need to Breathe fan. Looks like we got some other Need to Breathe fans here. Well, awesome. So first things first, I want to talk about kind of this massive shift that's happened in the publishing industry over the last few years, and really over the last decade or two. There's a few really interesting things that happened, especially as it relates to what we're here to talk about, right? Which is how to sell more books as an author. So this shift is largely kind of prompted by the rise of Amazon. So obviously Amazon, pretty massive company, and there's over 310 million buyers on Amazon. Last year alone, this accounted for $178 billion worth of commerce, 30 billion of which was from media. So there's actually been kind of this rise in the purchasing of books because Amazon's made it easier, and there's been a shift in book sales to where now over 70% of all books sold are sold on Amazon, which is pretty crazy. Now, the big 5 publishers who used to control the publishing industry and account for pretty much all of the book sales now only account for 16% of best-selling ebooks. Now, check this out. Less than 45% of author earnings go to traditionally published authors. This means that more earnings are going to self-published and indie published authors than traditionally published authors. And in fact, independently published authors, aka indie authors, so this is people who go with a small publisher or maybe publish themselves, now earn 70% of the profit from books. So there's been this radical shift to where now independent authors and self-published authors are actually making all of the money when it comes to the profit from books. Now, the flip side of this, and this is a little bit discouraging, is that the average author sells less than 100 copies of their book. This is really sad. And this is not what you want to do, I would imagine, and not what I'm going to lay out on this webinar. Now, while on the flip side, I guess the flip side of the flip side, there's what I call the thriving 1%, the thriving 1% who make all of the money from books, right? Thriving 1%. So these are the people who are making, massive amounts of money from self-published books. So really what I want to talk about on this webinar is how to be part of that thriving 1%. Now, I got a couple people who might be having sound issues. So if you guys can just let me know in the chat that you can hear me and see me fine. Hopefully it's operating properly here. Cool. So I want to start with what I call the tale of a troubled author. the tale of the troubled author. So many of you have probably experienced this if you've already published your book. So if you haven't published your book, you're probably in the pre-information gathering stage. So where you're just trying to figure out, trying to learn more about marketing because you're gonna have to get there someday. But if you have published your book and launched your book, then you probably fall in one of 2 categories. There's what I call failed launch Fred and successful launch Sally, right? So failed launch Fred, his launch was just a flop. He wasn't following a proven process. Probably had some glitches with Amazon. He didn't really know what to do with marketing. Maybe he was just thinking, if I build it, they will come. So he really didn't even do much marketing. He sold it on a site. Maybe he didn't sell it on Amazon. It's not even on Amazon yet. Or if it is on Amazon, maybe it has 1 or 5 reviews and hardly any sales. And it was a total flop from the beginning. Now, on the flip side, we've got successful launch Sally. Now, successful launch Sally, she executed a plan. Maybe it wasn't perfect, right? But she did everything that she could do to make this launch a success. And as a result, it sold pretty well. And she was pretty excited about that, right? She got some screenshots. Maybe she got #1 bestseller in one of her categories on Amazon. She's feeling good about it. But then it kind of nosedived, it did a nosedive into oblivion after the launch. So really, we've got successful launch Sally and failed launch Fred, both at the same place. They're trying to figure out, okay, how do I sell more books consistently? So the launch was good, or maybe the launch wasn't good, but either way, how do I hit my first 4-figure month as an author, or maybe my first 4-figure month beyond my launch month as an author? And then how do I do that consistently? So month after month after month. So what I'd love to do, first before I kind of expand on this concept is comment in the chat. Let me know, are you failed launch Fred or are you successful launch Sally? So which one do you identify with, and which one kind of explains where you're at with your author career now? So I see Johanna says failed launch Fred here. Paul is failed launch Fred. We got Jennifer, that's Fred. Michael's pre-failed launch, Fred. Okay. Lindy's not yet published. Wayne is Sally. We get some people about to launch, prepping for first launch, successful launch, Sally. Launch later this month. Traditional launch, mini launch, printed 100 and sold them. Okay, cool. We've got no launch Neds, or AKA unlaunched Eugene, or I think there's people who are coming up with a bunch of different names for it. Okay. Got it. Okay, so failed launch Fred's, successful launch Sally's, even I guess we call it no launch Ned's, all right here, right? So there's this gap. There's this, what I call four-figure author island is over here. You're over here. You're trying to figure out, how do I build a bridge to hit my first four-figure month, or maybe my consistent four-figure month. Now, here's what happens. You hear about a lot of really cool things. And so you hear, oh, I should maybe do Amazon ads, or I should build an author website, or, oh, I need an author Facebook page. I need a Goodreads account. What about BookBub? I heard about Buck Books. What about Facebook ads? I heard, there's people talking about Amazon ads, Facebook ads. Maybe I should run ads for my book. Maybe I should do a launch team. Oh my gosh, where do I even start? Right? Where do I even start? I'm stuck. So, maybe you try to build something and you get distracted. You try to build something and you get distracted. Try to build something else, then you get distracted. So what ends up happening is you end up with all these half-built bridges. You haven't really fully completed any of them because you keep getting distracted by what you couldn't do, right? Or what else you might do. So what my goal is on this presentation, I'll kind of break down kind of what I'm going to teach here in a second. But all right, let's build a first bridge and reach that four-figure author island. But then here's what happens. You realize that once you get here, and so you build the bridge, now you can reinvest these author royalties into building more bridges. So now you have consistent four-figure months, right? And then you get here and you say, oh, wow, I realize there's this whole other world out here. There's this, five-figure authorpreneur island, which is I want to consistently have five-figure months, which, this is more what my book-based business looks like. And also a lot of my friends that have really successful books is they've become an authorpreneur. So they hit their first five-figure month, and then now they hit consistent five-figure months, month after month after month. Now, depending on who you are and where you're at, these things might look like two different things, right? Maybe you're not interested in this. You just want this four-figure island, right? Your priorities might be different. And I'll kind of, for some of you, four-figure island, that's a nice passive income stream. For some of you, it might be retirement, right? I'm creating an asset so that this will keep bringing in royalties month after month after month after month, right? That's the cool thing about publishing a book and tapping into an existing ecosystem like Amazon, is that it's a passive income source. For others of you, maybe this is going to pay for your kids, right? You've had a couple kids, you need some extra spending money for you and the family. That's what this can represent. And then if you get here, right, if this is your goal, well, then maybe this means replacing your income, becoming a full-time author, not having to work at a job you hate, right? Or maybe even, being able to retire early because you have all these royalties coming in from your book. So that's really what this looks like. And I'm going to break out how to get to these points in this presentation. So I'm going to break this up into three parts. Part number one, we're going to talk about the fundamentals of a perennial bestseller. So really how to rescue, so two parts, how to rescue a failed launch, and how to set up your book for long-term success. Then part number two, we're going to talk about selling more books to reach your first four-figure month. Okay, so how do you get to four-figure island? What does that look like? What's it going to take to get there? And then lesson number three, how to transition from a four-figure month to really becoming an authorpreneur. So building your author business to 5 figures a month. And then at the end of this presentation, I'm going to share with you some info on a brand new movement that you can be a part of with us here at Self-Publishing School. This is something new and super exciting that I'll tell you about that's going to help you sell more books. Okay? Does that sound like a plan? Awesome. So let's dive in with lesson number one. So let's talk about the fundamentals of a perennial bestseller. So how to rescue a failed launch and set up your book for long-term success. So there's kind of all these book publishing myths that have been perpetuated out there. So there's myths like you make all of your money during the launch and then you nosedive into oblivion, right? People have just kind of accepted that this is the way it is. You're just going to make a bunch of money during your launch and then you're not going to make any money after that. That's not true. Number two, it takes years to replace your income as an author. It doesn't take years if you do it right and if you have a proven process to follow. Take a living from your writing. This is another one. You need to write a ton of books, right? So there's kind of this belief that quantity is better than quality. So just bump out a ton of books. That's the way to win on Amazon. If you have enough books, then you can sell more books, and that's how you're going to win. That's not true. Quality is much better than quantity. And really, I want to start this section with a premise that you have to have a great book, okay? This is assumed you have to have a great book, and we're going to talk about what that looks like here in a second, but you have to have a great book because then all of the marketing efforts that I'm going to teach you here will amplify the success of that great book. But we have a couple sayings here at Self-Publishing School. Number one is that you can't polish a turd, right? It's still a turd. So if your book's not good, you can't polish that, right? The more popular version of this saying is you can't put lipstick on a pig. Well, you can, but it's still a pig, right? So if you don't have a good book, and if your book is not quality and you're just trying to pump out a crappy book just for the sake of having a book, well, then everything that I'm about to teach you is not going to do anything, right? You got to have a good book, and it starts there first. Now, on this note, there's really a difference between a successful launch and a perennial bestseller. A lot of people can have a successful launch, and a lot of our students in Self-Publishing School, we lay out the frameworks. We take people from blank page to published author and then show them how to have a successful launch. Now, that's great, and I know there's a lot of successful launch Sallys in the audience here. But really, there's a difference between having a successful launch and selling a lot of books long-term, and really what I'll call a perennial bestseller. Now, it's kind of this concept. It's kind of like the two cars that you see on the screen here. So we've got a sports car, and then we've got a Toyota Camry. Now, most everyone in the industry is focused on having a sports car launch. So if you know anything about sports cars, you know that they're super loud. They take up a lot of fuel, right? So a lot of energy. They go super fast, but they break. They break, and they're really expensive to fix, and they aren't really good for going long distances. At least most of them are, right? Now, on the flip side, there's the Toyota Camry, which isn't sexy. It's not glamorous. It's not anything like that, but it keeps going, right? If you've ever driven a Toyota Camry, I've had a couple in my lifetime, and both of them just had a ton of miles on them, like over 200,000 miles. These things just go forever, right? So what I really want to focus on for you is how do we have a Toyota Camry launch, not a sports car launch, right? Obviously, we care about having a successful launch out of the gate, but if it's just using up a bunch of fuel, aka energy and time on your end, making a lot of noise, a lot of people know about it, but then it's shoo, right? Then it's past, and then you don't see it again, right? So we don't want to do that. We want to have really a Toyota Camry kind of launch and set up for a launch and a book that's going to sell month after month, year after year, decade after decade. Now, to do that, there's really a few fundamentals that your book needs to have. And I saw that Paula says, my son's driving a 1996 Camry. Love it. I had a 95 Camry, and then I think I had a 2001 Camry. So yeah, they're great cars. Now, fundamentals of a perennial bestseller. So first things first, you need to have a good title, and you need to have a good subtitle. So the job of your title and subtitle is to clearly communicate what your book's about for a very specific audience. And then to easily let them know whether or not the book is for them. Now, a lot of people mess up this portion. So their title isn't clear or their subtitle isn't clear. And really, the biggest mistake I see people make here is that it's just way too vague. It's big picture, it's not specific, and it doesn't make a bold promise to the reader. Now, in addition to a good title and a good subtitle, you need to have a good cover. Okay, so this is really, really important. A good cover needs to have a few things. Number one, it needs to grab attention. So if you look at the covers for any of my books, so especially book launch or published, you just search those on Amazon. I'll give you permission to be a little bit distracted here. Open up another window if you want and check out either one of those books. You'll see that the number one, the book cover grabs attention. Number two, the title and subtitle is easy to read. And then number three, people instantly know what the book's about and whether or not it's for them. And that's really the three boxes that you need to be checking with both your cover, your title, and your subtitle. Number three here, do you have more than 20 Amazon reviews? So it's kind of hard to sell a bunch of books long-term if you don't have more than 20 reviews on Amazon. Nobody wants to buy a book that doesn't have reviews. This is a fundamental principle of marketing called social proof. So you need to have reviews. Now, really, there's two rungs of the ladder here. We teach our students, and we really want our students to have 20 Amazon reviews when they launch or within 1 month of launching. Now, this is where, maybe you have to scrap for these reviews, right? You ask everyone that you give them advanced copies, you use your launch team, all that stuff. So 20 reviews is the first checkpoint. And then after that, really to sell a significant amount of books long-term, it's important that you surpass 100 reviews. Because that's kind of, when people see that, they say, oh, this book is legit, I'm going to buy it. You also need to be strategic in the way that you pick your keywords and categories. So Amazon allows you 7 keywords to target and then also allows you 2 categories. Now, not a lot of people know this, but Amazon will also allow you to get in 8 additional categories, so 10 total. All you have to do is ask. So this is a way to rank in more categories to increase the organic discovery. So people's abilities to discover your book on Amazon goes up when you're in more categories. And it's also a way to rank number 1 in more categories. Now, if you want kind of detailed instruction for this, all you have to do is go to Google and search more Amazon categories self-publishing school. We have a pretty detailed blog post walking you through this process on how to get in more categories. Now, this is number 5 here. Does your book solve a real problem in the market? Okay, does your book solve a real problem in the marketplace? So, is this something that people need help with? And now if for fiction or for children's book, the problem that you're solving is entertainment, right? This is a little bit different than maybe a nonfiction or a self-help book, but is this entertaining for the reader, right? Now, for nonfiction, does this solve a real problem? So, for example, my book Published, The Proven Path from Blank Page to Published Author. This solves the problem of writing a book is really hard and publishing it successfully is even harder. So I walk people through the 10,000-foot view of how to do that. So what's the problem that you're solving in the marketplace? And then lastly, is it a well-written, timeless book? Is this something that can sell for years? Again, it's a good book. Remember, you can't polish a turd. You can't put lipstick on a pig. Is this a well-written book, and is it timeless? Right? So there's not a lot of things in the book that will date it or make it, quickly become outdated, because then guess what? Well, that's cool for a little bit, but then if the book's not timeless, well, then it's going to be outdated, and then now it's not going to sell because it's outdated, right? So these are the fundamentals of a perennial bestseller. Feel free to take a picture of this slide. So your title and your subtitle is good. Your cover is good. Do you have more than 20 Amazon reviews? If yes, do you have more than 100? And actually, I'll pause here. Go ahead and post in the comments and let me know how many, if you've already published, how many reviews do you have on your book right now? Now, I realize that this is going to be all over the map, and I would really encourage you, no matter how many, share it, because this will be helpful. So don't be ashamed if it's not a lot, just share it. So do you have more than 20 reviews? And then if that's the case, now how can we get to more than 100? And I'm going to show you an exact process that I use for getting more reviews here in just a minute. So let's see, we got 3, we've got 8, Ron's got 20 reviews. Roosevelt's got 17, 2, 13, 11. Jake's got 5, 3, 27, 43. Nice. Awesome, Peggy. Kathleen, 13 and 14. It looks like a couple different books there. 30. Okay, 11 reviews, 24, 76. Wow, that's the record that I'm seeing so far. Kelly, that's awesome. Yeah, so these answers come, I see that a couple people can't see the answers, so these answers come directly to me. So this is great. Awesome. So no matter where you're at, the first step to improving something is acknowledging where you're at, right? And once you have awareness around where you're at, you can have awareness around what you need to do to fix it. So that's number one. So the fundamentals of a perennial bestseller. So really setting up the foundation to make sure that your book's going to sell long-term, not just for the first month. Now let's talk about number two. So really how to reach that first four-figure month. And then how to do it consistently. So there's some more myths here around selling more books. Number one, and the first one being that there's no use in publishing other formats beyond Kindle. So a lot of people just publish a Kindle book and then they don't go any further than that. So we've found that even of students that we work with, 25% of people have no print book and 50+% people have no audiobook. So you're just missing out on all these sales. And I'll tell you about that in a second. There seems to be this belief, especially among American authors, that all sales happen in the U.S. And beyond that, just it's not that important. Now, I have a buddy, Hal Elrod. He wrote a book called The Miracle Morning, and that book sells like crazy. That book brought in $1 million in royalties last year. I think it was 300,000 or 400,000 of which was internationally. So there's this huge, huge market for book sales outside of the U.S. and outside of Amazon. So a lot of people think all sales happen just on Amazon. Now, I want to break this up into two parts. So first, so if we're talking about selling more books and we want to debunk these myths, well, first, how do we turn every book purchase into 3 purchases? And then step number 2, what are kind of the 3 steps that you can take to sell more books? So this first part is what's called the viral coefficient. So what I'm really just obsessed with figuring out is how do I make sure that when someone buys 1 copy of my book, that turns into 2 or 3 more purchases, right? So that then all my efforts that I'm making to sell more books get amplified through what's called a viral coefficient. Now, I'll explain more about this, but this is a concept popularized by Jonah Berger in his book called Contagious. So he really studied, why do videos go viral? Why does anything go viral? And why do things catch on? And what he discovered was it was that viral coefficient. So, what was the share to play ratio for a video, right? So if a video had 1,000 views, how many shares did it have? Maybe it was 100. Well, that's a 10% share rate, right? And the higher that viral coefficient was, which means if one person views the video and then shares it, and then 2 more people see it, well, then now for every view that you can get, that results in 3 views. Or if we're talking in examples of your book, for every book that you sell, that results in 3 book purchases. So to increase your viral coefficient, there's a few things that you can do. Number 1, get reviews from every reader. I'll show you how to do this in a second. Number 2, create challenges in the book. So we do this in my book Published. We say, hey, try the SPS 30-day challenge and post about it, right? So post when you finish your mind map, post when you finish your rough draft. So now we're creating a challenge which sparks virality and other people are hearing about the book. Promote a buddy system. So my buddy, Hal Elrod, he does this really well in The Miracle Morning. He says, hey, if you're going to do a morning routine, you need a partner, right? So have your partner join you, and here's the first 3 chapters of the book. You can share this with them. So now all of a sudden, more people are getting a copy of the book. I do the same thing in my book Published. And you can create a book that involves group participation or sharing. So one of the great examples here is a book called Scaling Up, which this is kind of my business Bible. Now, I bought this book. I read it as the CEO of my company. And now we've bought it for every single employee that's worked at self-publishing school. So, I've probably bought, 30 or 40 copies of this book over the years. So that's a great example of turning 1 book sold into now 30 or 40 books sold. And then lastly, just ask people to share in the book itself. This is so simple, but just asking people to share this. This is a great final call to action to end the book. Hey, did you enjoy this? Get it for a friend or get it for someone at your company. So being very specific and very explicit in how you ask them to share the book with others. So this is your viral coefficient. Now let's talk about 3 steps to selling more books. And I know I'm throwing a lot at you guys here, so hopefully you're kind of tracking with me here, and hopefully you're finding this helpful. So number 1, we talked about this, offer your book in multiple formats. Number 2, expand distribution into other channels. So international stores besides Amazon, stuff like that. And then number 3, increase the visibility of the book itself. Now I'm going to really zoom into number 1 and zoom into number 3 in this section here. So let's talk about publishing a book in multiple formats. So it's really important that you publish in Kindle, print, and audiobook, because it's going to expand the reach of your book, and it's going to open up new markets. So a lot of people don't read. They would only listen to a book just like they would listen to a podcast. So if you don't have an audiobook, you're cutting yourself completely off from that audience, right? Some people only read on their Kindle. I'm kind of old school. I just like reading print books, right? So if someone doesn't have a print book, I'm significantly less likely to read that book. So publishing in all formats. There's also the power of the Audible bounty. So basically, if someone signs up for an Audible subscription and your book is the first book that they buy, this could be totally random. I think it's either $50 or maybe they just increased it to $75, but you get $50, we'll call it, on the low end, just because they signed up for Audible. And this doesn't even have to be someone that you know. It's just because you have a book on Audible, right? And it could just be total serendipity. I get a few $100 a month just off of my Audible bounty, right? Really, really powerful. Different formats also sell better in different genres. So like a cookbook, for example, probably not going to sell really well in Kindle books, at least from my experience. A lot of people buy physical cookbooks. So, I mean, obviously a cookbook, sticking with that example, not going to be a great audiobook. So depending on your genre, depending on the format or your genre, different genres sell better for different types. So just give you kind of the breakdown, and also just a quick poll here. So how many of you, if you've already published your book, what formats have you published in? So either put Kindle only, Kindle and print, or Kindle, print, and audio, or you can just put all formats, maybe to make it easy. So we'll just kind of get a quick little heat check here to see, kind of the breakdown of the audience. Okay, Kindle and print, Kindle and print, Kindle and print. Wow, a ton of people saying Kindle and print. All Kindle and print, print only, print only. Okay, wow. Kindle only. The print is coming at the end of this month, says Jake. Kindle and print. Okay, so this kind of backs up my stats a little bit ago. Oh, paperback only. Wow. Okay, so you got a subgroup of people who you got to publish Kindle. Another group of people who's just done Kindle and print. So you need to do an audiobook. And then a whole nother group of people who's just done Kindle. And so now you're missing out on all these other sales and royalties from all these other formats. So this is really eye-opening. And so this is cool to see. And then, it looks like, just from quick math here, I'm just seeing that probably about 20% of you have actually done all formats. So for most of you, there's a huge amount of opportunity here to sell more books and to reach that the first 4-figure island or 4-figure month by doing additional copies. So if we're talking about a $10,000 launch or just earning $10,000 from your book, this is what this looks like per format. And obviously there's going to be crossover here. Now, this is a great example from Self-Publishing School. So this is one of our students, Otakar Kletke. She says, 9 months bestseller, over 10,000 copies sold. Thank you, SPS. If you're on your journey, don't give up. When you publish a Kindle book, don't stop. Make it all formats. I wouldn't be selling 1,000+ books monthly if I didn't do that. If I can do it despite English being my second language, so can you. So this is important. Let's talk about increasing the visibility of your book. And I'm going to show you how to get more reviews here too. So to increase the visibility of your book, there's 3 things that I recommend. There's running AMS ads or Amazon ads. I'm not going to have time to go into this on this presentation. There's increasing the number of reviews that you get for your book, because that highly weighs in the Amazon algorithm. And there's doing some basic PR. This is extremely important and very easy. So this is, I don't see many authors take advantage of this, but it is so easy to get on local TV, local newspaper, local radio, or get on podcasts. And this is a great way to increase the visibility of your book and credentialize you and what you're doing. Okay, so those are the 3 things I'll recommend. Now I'm going to dive in specifically to increasing the number of reviews. Now I want to introduce you to what I call the review sweeper. And I see Tony says that's helpful. Thank you. So I want to introduce you to what I call the review sweeper. So this is a plug and play template that you send to readers of your book via email after they opt in to your list. And I'm going to try to explain this quickly because I want to get to lesson number 3 here. But check this out. So this is what I do. So for published, I send an email 21 days after they purchase, then 25 days after, then 27 days after. And it's just simply asking for a review. So email number 1, I say, hey, how are you liking my book? So 21 days after they purchase, I say, hey, Chandler Bolt here. Just checking in to see how you're liking my book published so far. What do you think? Are you enjoying it? Please hit reply to this email, and let me know. I'd love to hear what you think. Now, they reply to this email, and the people on my customer support team, they get the reply. If it's a good reply, they say, hey, great to hear this. Thank you for the feedback. Quick question. Would you mind copying and pasting your feedback into an Amazon review? This takes 2 seconds. Click here, right? So we're making it super easy for the reader to click and leave a review. And then if they don't reply or don't leave a review, I'm following up 2 more times. So I'll say, hey, what do you think? And I'm just explicitly asking for a review. And then the last one says, hey, one final plea. Looks like you bought my book about a month ago. Reviews are the lifeblood of being an author. So can you take 2 minutes right now to leave an honest review? This would mean a lot to me. The review doesn't have to be perfect, and you can go back later to change it. So I'm building in this, and this is what I call the review sweeper, because this literally sweeps in reviews week after week, month after month, year after year. And so it sweeps in reviews. All right, you guys tracking with me so far? Sorry, getting a little bit distracted by the chat. So we're going to move into lesson number 3. How you guys doing? Love it. And I see we got some questions, and I'm going to do a Q&A towards the end. Awesome. Paula says, great, thank you. Great. Okay, cool. Hey, Lisa, how's it going? Yeah, and I'm going to show you in a second. I see some questions here. I'm pretty sure I'm going to show you how to get how I get their email, the customer's info. A lot of people are asking that. Jennifer says, super helpful. Super helpful so far. Love it. All right, so lesson number 3. Let's talk about how to become an authorpreneur and build your author business to 5 figures a month. So when I, wrote and published my very first book, it's called The Productive Person. I was very fortunate in the sense that the book did well. In the first month, it made $6,600. Month 2 made $4,400. Month 3, $3,100. Month 4, $2,500. Month 5, $3,400. The book kept bringing in passive income month after month after month. So this is, I'd reached 4-figure island, and really 4-figure island consistently. Now then I tried to transition from my first successful book, so from a successful book launch to running a successful business, or really becoming an authorpreneur. Now, about 16 months later, I woke up, and this is what all my bank accounts look like, both of my bank accounts, so my checking and my savings. Now, I don't know how good you are at math, but negative numbers are not good, right? Especially when it comes to your book, to your bank account. So, my bank accounts were negative. I borrowed $15,000 from friends and family to try and get my authorpreneur business off the ground. Now, this is when I realized that there's a very big difference between being a successful author and launching a book successfully and being a successful authorpreneur. Now, on the same day, I went to make myself some food, and literally the only thing I had in my apartment was 2 end pieces of a loaf of bread and peanut butter. So I made myself this double end piece peanut butter sandwich. It was like the most dry and disgusting sandwich that I think I've ever had. And it was funny. I was giving this presentation the other day, and a lady said, "This looks like a frowny face right here," right? Which this is how I felt in this moment. Now, this was a kind of a smack in the face and facing reality for me, which was that there's a big difference. Like I just said there's a big difference between successfully launching a book and becoming an entrepreneur. And that difference is you need to learn the skill of marketing and of sales. The old adage, if you build it, they will come. That's not true. You need to get good at marketing. So, this was advice I got from some of my mentors. So personally, I doubled down on those skill sets. I invested in a ton of online courses and coaching programs. I went to events. I did everything that I could do to learn the skill of marketing, and really the skill of marketing specific to book launches and becoming an entrepreneur. Now, I kind of compiled all my wisdom from that and said, hey, I'm going to launch another book. This book was called Book Launch. So I launched this book, and in the first 55 days, this book brought in over 3,300 leads for my business and over $92,000 in sales for my business. So this really helped my business go from 0 to $1.32 million in the first 11 months. And it still brings in leads and still brings in business every single month. So remember, we're talking about creating an asset here, right? So going from 4-figure months to 5-figure months means transitioning from successful author to entrepreneur. So building on that foundation that we've already talked about. Now, there's 2 paths that you can take here. You can say, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur. So, I want to just make money from my royalties and build a book only business. Or the second option is I want to build a book based business, right? So I want to use my book to feed into my business, and I'm, maybe do something on the back end. So whether that's a physical product, whether that's a brick and mortar company, the company that you already run potentially, whether that's coaching, consulting, speaking, there's something on the back end. So, for me personally, I use Published to drive sales for Self-Publishing School, right? So that book, drives a ton of sales for us. And so, yes, I make money from the book, but also make a whole lot more money on the business that comes from that book. So either path that you choose, you're really going to have to transition from, hey, I just have this book on Amazon that's doing well, to building out a platform. And when I say platform, I specifically mean an email list. Now, an email list is really a license to print money is what it is. When you build an email list, you're building a way to communicate with your authors beyond just your book. So you're going to be able to have a continued conversation with them. This leads to more book sales. This leads to more reviews. This leads to more sales for your business if you have one, all that good stuff. So what I'd ask as a question here is, how many of you have an email list? And then secondly, if you have an email list, so just yes or no. And then if you have an email list, how many people are on it? How many people are on it? So go ahead and comment in the chat here and let me know. So do you have an email list, and how many people are on it? I see Johannes says yes, no, yes, over 200 people, 175 people. Faison, yes, about 5,000. That's awesome. Wow, John, 12,000 person list. That's amazing. No. Roughly 2,000 people, about 100 people, 24 people, 80 people. Lisa just set up a MailChimp account last night. That's awesome. 500 on one list, 100 on another. Wow, 3,000 plus. That's amazing. Cool. So we've got some yeses, some nos. We've got a lot of people who are just getting started with their email list. That's awesome. This is great. So I want to really walk through this. So how do you build an email list? Now, this is a question that a lot of people were asking a second ago, which is, hey, how do you get the information of your book buyers, right? How do you go from buyers to subscribers? So one of the ways that we do this, and this has been insanely successful, is, have you ever checked out the Look Inside feature, right? So you click the Look Inside feature and you're going to be able to preview the first 10% of the book. So one thing I do is I give away an audiobook for free right in the beginning of the book. We found that two things work really well here, either audio or video. So either an audiobook, audio recording, or video. So it could be a video overview of the book. It could be a little mini course. I also have a webinar that people can opt in at the beginning of the book, but I'm giving away something for free that has inherent value. Now, the audiobook works like crazy because it does a couple key things. Number one, people are now more likely to finish the book because they probably have this huge to be read list. And now instead of having to read the book, they can just listen to it at the gym or on the way to work or stuff like that. But also an audiobook has inherent value, right? So, an audiobook, it has, you would pay 10, 15, 20, 25 bucks for an audiobook on Amazon, right? So now instead, I'm giving it to you for free and you're saying, holy cow, I love this Chandler guy. I already like this guy and we're already friends because he's giving me something that has value. Now, the cool part here is also, check this out. So people can look inside. They can opt into my email list without even buying my book. Now, most people say, Chandler's an idiot. He doesn't even know this. Of course I know this, right? For me, a lead for my business is worth significantly more than the $2 or $3 that I would get if they bought my Kindle book. And guess what? A lot of people go on to buy other formats of the book because, it's reciprocity, right? I've given them something for free. So they feel the need and they want to reciprocate that. Now, other ways to build your email list, make sure your email opt-in's in the front of the book. So I made this mistake. Don't put the audiobook or the video in the back of the book. In addition to the audio or the video, offer 4 to 7 other CTAs, so calls to action throughout the book. Now, examples of that can be, I'll say if I'm talking about a mind map and published, it's, oh, here's a mind map template. If I'm talking about the book production process, hey, download my book finishing checklist, right? So additional resources that they can go to my site to download. So 4 to 7 of these throughout the book, or 4 to 7 just calls to action, even if it's just to the same one. Include a call to action at the end with logical next steps. So I love leave a review and then opt in for this video training, right? If you've loved this book, you're going to love this video training, go here. Or maybe even book a call with my team, right? And this is how we turn book buyers into customers. And then lastly, you can give away a preview of your book for free. So I mentioned this earlier, how Elrod does this, where he says, hey, share this book with a friend and they can get 3 free chapters, right? So really, really, really powerful. Now I'll give you some examples here. This is a screenshot from earlier this year. In one single month, the audiobook of Book Launch brought in 1,300 leads, published, brought in 586 leads. The resources, so remember those 4 to 7 CTAs or calls to actions inside the book, brought in another 200 leads. Like you just see, talk about an asset. This is bringing in leads. These folks are going into the review sweeper. They're leaving reviews. They're buying more books. They're becoming customers, all that stuff. Now, 2 final examples here. So I'm going to give you a royalty example and I'm going to give you a business example. So remember, author only and then business. So this is Lise Cartwright. She's one of our first students. She was a freelancer that was trading hours for dollars. But then she wrote a book, actually ended up writing multiple books. And within a few months, she started making $3,000 to $4,000 a month in passive income just from author royalties. Now, flip side, this is David McKay. So he emailed me the other day. He said, hey, Chandler, I joined self-publishing school, wrote and published a book. I actually published 2 books in 89 days, kind of crazy. And then those books have brought in $10,000 in royalties in exactly 1 year. But more importantly, they've brought in $45,655 in business. So in clients for his business that came directly from his books. And they're bringing in about 30 to 40 leads a week. This is crazy, right? So they're bringing in a ton of leads for his business. And if you have a business, I would imagine that you can do a lot of damage or do a lot of sales with 30 to 40 leads a week, right? Now, that's the end of lesson number 3. Let's recap what we've got, kind of what we've covered here. And I've got a couple more things to share. So lesson number 1, we talked about what are the fundamentals of a perennial bestseller. So we really laid the foundation to how do you rescue a failed launch, but then also how do you set up your book for long-term success? We talked about selling more books to reach your first four-figure month. So, we talked about how do you build virality into your book and increase your viral coefficient? And then what are the 3 steps to selling more books? Then we talked about becoming an entrepreneur. So once you have your first four-figure month, how do you replicate that again and again and again, and then scale up to your first 5-figure month? Now, let me ask you a question. Has this presentation felt a little bit like this? I've went pretty quickly here. I've taught you kind of everything that I could possibly teach you about how to sell more books in the past 50 or 51 minutes here. Now, obviously, I can't teach everything there is to know about selling more books in the span of 51 minutes. So because of that, I've put together a real special program that'll show you how to sell more books faster. So what I'd like to ask is for your permission to share that with you. And if I have your permission, I'm going to take about 8 minutes and share what this is. It's really special, and I think you're going to be excited about it. And then I will be able to open up into questions. I see, haha, yes, that's so feeling like that girl. A little too much to absorb, and maybe need the elementary version. Yes, 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 this has been awesome. Yes, please share. You're really good at this, Chandler. Thank you, Paula. Yes, please. Okay, awesome. So I want to tell you about Self-Publishing School, and more specifically what we're calling the Sell More Books program. So over the last few years, if you're not familiar, so maybe some of you are already students, some of you aren't, but if you're not familiar, Self-Publishing School, we're an online education company. We help people write and publish books. Now, over the last few years, we've helped over 4,000 people with their books. Now, in the last year or so, we've helped, we're right at, I think it's 315 authors published, which is pretty crazy. Here's a map of all of our students in South and North America. So as you can see, we've got a lot of students kind of all over the place. And then if you zoom out, here's a world map with all of our students around the world. So we've helped fiction authors, nonfiction authors. We've helped children's book authors. We've helped people write in all sorts of different languages. I mean, we've really revolutionized the publishing industry over the last few years, and we've helped thousands of people publish their books. And now we feel like it's time to change the way that authors sell books. So really elevating the success of authors around the world. We believe that authors have the power to change the world. Books change the world. So books change the lives of the people who write them, and books change the lives of the people who read them. So because of that, we're introducing what we're calling our Sell More Books Blueprint. So this is, people ask, what is it? Well, I always say it's kind of like the mix between Indiana Jones and Jillian Michaels. So we blaze the trail, and yes, it can be the elementary version. I know someone just mentioned that, but we blaze the trail and teach you how to sell more books. This is a proven formula that works, and then we hold you accountable to do the work. So as you can see here, do the work, do the work, do the work. So it's a mix of showing you what to do and then holding you accountable to do it. So practically what this looks like is this is a brand new online education program that we've released on how to sell more books and grow your author business. Now, we've got modules really on all the things I just taught you. If you thought that was interesting and you said, hey, I want some extra steps on how to do that, we literally have this laid out. How do you get an email list going? How do you set up the review sweeper? How do you set up AMS ads? How do you build virality into your book? You know, all of the fundamental things that how do you relaunch the book? What if your launch is not successful? How do you relaunch it in a way that it is successful? Do I need to relaunch my book? And then how can I scale that up and sell more books? So all of these modules are taught by industry experts. Now, we've got 3 what we call royalty roadmaps. So 3 paths that you can take that will show you some different strategies to take your books and your royalties to the next level. Now, in addition to the online piece, you're going to get one-on-one coaching with your personal coach. And you're also going to get live weekly group coaching calls with me. So every single week, I'm in our community answering any and all questions that you have, and you will get access to that, which will help you sell more books long term. Now, who does this work for? This works for authors who want the shortcut to sell more books. So maybe for some of you, like I mentioned earlier, this is someone who wants to either this is some side money, some retirement money, stuff like that. Or maybe you want this to become your full-time income. Quit your job. This is the path to that. It's not going to happen overnight, but it is a proven path that you can follow. This works for both the failed launch Freds and the successful launch Susies. Right? So whichever one that you identified as on the top of the webinar, this will work for you. And then lastly, this works for traditionally published authors or self-published authors. So either one. So it doesn't matter if you're going through a publisher or if you're self-publishing, this works for you. Now, we've already helped a ton of students, both fiction and nonfiction, in our beta round and in the first round of Self-Publishing Schools Sell More Books. And we got a ton of success stories. So I'm just going to show you one of them. And this is really cool. So this is Jed Jurchenko. So you can see this is an example. He joined Self-Publishing School, which is kind of like our bachelor's degree, right? And he used this to launch a book. Now you see this massive spike from when he launched his book through Self-Publishing School. So he was a successful launch Sally or successful launch Susie, either one. And then you can see he, kind of a little nosedive here, and then it just leveled out. And then he said, all right, cool, I'm going to join Sell More Books to increase my sales and to sell more books long term. And then the program almost paid for itself in 1 week worth of book sales. Right, so you can see already his books started selling more. Now he sent us a screenshot of recent results, and over a 30-day period, he'd sold 2,788 units or copies of his books. So you can see he's got a few different books here, and he's got multiple books that are selling. So he's used these principles to increase the sales of multiple books and to make a whole lot of money from his books. And it really increases author royalties. So this is, the Sell More Books program works. It is a proven blueprint to follow. Now, if this is something that you're interested in, and if you'd like to find out more details about the Sell More Books program, then the next step is going to be to book a call. So we've set aside time in the next 48 hours to speak with you personally about how to sell more books. So you're going to book a session, a strategy session with one of our publishing experts. These are people who have literally worked with hundreds of people through this process, just like you. And they're going to help you craft a plan to sell more books and grow your author business. Now, we'll also talk to you, obviously, on this call about the Sell More Books movement, about whether or not it makes sense, whether you qualify to work with us. And if so, we'll tell you what that looks like. And we can kind of talk details and all that stuff. Now, quick disclaimer, only book a call if you're serious about taking your book sales to the next level. Only book a call if you're an implementer, so you implement what you're taught. If you hold yourself to the higher standards of integrity, and then also if you're serious about investing in yourself and in doing what needs to be done to sell more books. So if all these can be said about you, then I need you to go ahead and head on over to self-publishingschool.com/movement. Okay, so there's a link on the screen. You can type that in your browser, or you should see a little pop-up that says, it's a blue button that says schedule now. So all you have to do is click that button and go ahead and head on over to the page and find a time, really the soonest time to now that is available, and then book that time. So there's a very limited number of slots here, obviously. There's a lot of you on this webinar. We only have so many slots over the next 48 hours or so. So find the soonest time that's available and then go ahead and book that time and then show up prepared for your call. And we'll talk about what it looks like for you to sell more books and what it looks like for you to join the Sell More Books movement and how we can kind of help you achieve your author goals here. Now, when you click this link, go ahead and do that now. And actually, once you've booked a call, come back in the chat and just comment, I booked a call. I'd love to give you a shout out if you booked a call here. So go ahead and comment in the chat, I booked a call, once you booked a call. But once you click this link, you're going to land on a page that looks something like this. Now, there should be a video at the top. If you're live on the webinar, you can skip that for now and just scroll below, and you should see a calendar that's going to pop up. The calendar should look something like this, except once it loads, you'll see times. So go ahead and pick a time. Again, the time the soonest to now. Click that button to schedule it, and then you're going to go to step 2, which is a short application. So you're going to fill out a couple questions, help us know help let us know about your book goals, about what you're trying to achieve with what you're doing with this book. And then, so that'll help us make sure that we come prepared to the call, and also help make sure that you got the most out of that call. Now, we do have a fast action bonus for Sell More Books. So if you book a call in the next 24 hours, if you're accepted and you enroll, I'll personally promote your book to the Self-Publishing School community and to our Facebook page, which has over 110,000 people when it launches. So all you have to do to be eligible for this is book a call right now while we're on this webinar. Comment in the chat, just say, I booked a call. And then that's also if you qualify to work with us and if you enroll on that call, then you'll be eligible for this fast action bonus where I'll personally promote your book when it launches. So all I need you to do now is go ahead and head on over to self-publishingschool.com/movement, or click the blue Schedule Now button that should have just popped up, and you can click that blue Schedule Now button. Sorry, I'm seeing chat coming in. You can click that blue Schedule Now button and then find a time that works sometime within the next 48 hours. So with that said, I'll go ahead and answer some of your questions. Also, if you've booked a call, again, just comment in the chat and let me know that you booked a call. I hope that you've enjoyed this training so far. I hope that you got a lot out of this. And then really, I'm excited to answer your questions. So it looks like we've got some folks booking a call already. I see V says, what happens if I'm away for the next week and unavailable for a call? So try something this week, so today or tomorrow, and just find a time that works. Unfortunately, we can't book out further than that. So I would just encourage you to find a time, maybe later today or at some point tomorrow. And I guarantee this will be worth your time. So this is, this is not going to be a waste of your time. So just shave out 45 minutes or so at some point today or tomorrow. And I would argue that this is going to be the best 45 minutes that you've ever spent on your book and on selling more books. If you thought that this webinar was helpful, you're going to really find this call helpful, because this is where you get on the phone with an expert and you get kind of personalized one-on-one guidance to your situation and your goals. Cool. And I see some people asking questions about what's the difference between Self-Publishing School and Sell More Books? And is it the same thing? Great question. So this is different. So Self-Publishing School, the goal of Self-Publishing School is to take people from blank page to published author in as little as 90 days and to help you successfully launch your book. So this is kind of like the bachelor's degree, and Sell More Books is the master's degree. Sell More Books is, hey, did you have a failed launch? If so, here's how you make sure that you relaunch it and you relaunch it successfully. Or if you're successful launch Sally, do you have a successful launch? Okay, now here's how to build on that successful launch to sell more books. So either way, we can help you with that. And this is like kind of like I said, the MBA or the master's degree in selling books. So this is really how to build on your success as an author. Awesome. And I'm seeing, let's see, a couple questions. Oh yeah, so a couple people are having trouble booking a call. So try the link if you haven't already. The blue link, and then you should be able to go over to that page. And what can happen here sometimes is it's kind of like Ticketmaster. If you're trying to buy tickets and someone else buys tickets while you're in the middle of checking out, like if someone else books the same time as you might get an error message, and then you'll just have to click the button. It should prompt you to say, go back and find a new time. And it'll keep all your information in there. All you have to do is find a new time. It makes it super easy, and then you can book that. So that might be what happened there. Oh, awesome. Kelly says, I love Self-Publishing School, worth every penny. That's amazing. Thank you, Kelly. If you love Self-Publishing School, you're going to love Sell More Books. We're super excited about this. We think this is going to really help a whole lot of people. Let's see. Jane says, I booked a call. Love it. Looks like we got a bunch of people, other folks booking a call. Scott says your phone reservation crashed. So try again, try refreshing that page, and maybe other people can check that link and see if it's working for you. I hope that it is. Yeah, I hope that that's working for you. I see a couple people asking about the price point. So yeah, it kind of depends on your situation, but it's a few $1,000s, and that includes the personal coaching, the online piece, a lot of different resources. William said the system is thinking. Let's see. Let me see here. Scott's trying again. Karina's having trouble. Paula's having trouble. So try refreshing. Let's see. I'm going to just quickly check with my team. So it looks like people might be So if you guys will actually just, if you can give me a confirmation if it has worked for you. So if you successfully booked a call, obviously type in the chat, I've booked a call. And then I see, we've got a few people here. Paula says, have refreshed, have redone. So hopefully that is working for you. If you haven't already, head on over to that link and give it a try, and then just let me know in the chat box. I just checked with my team, and I want to make sure that this is working properly. Now, while I'm waiting to hear from you guys and waiting to hear from my team, if you haven't launched your book yet or haven't published your book yet, and you're not in self-publishing school, so I see a couple of people kind of asking about that. Is like, hey, is this for me? So what you can do is you can still book a call through this link, and we'll probably just talk to you about self-publishing school, right? So, go and book a call anyway, because obviously we know that we can help you get this book done and get it done the right way. We don't want you to be a failed launch, Fred. So we'll walk you through that process and just make a note of that in your application. And then I think I saw, let's see, I think I saw, this was from, I think maybe Beth, said, should I complete the VIP program first and then do this one? So that's a great question, Beth. It kind of depends. So if you're planning on launching within the next 2 to 3 months, then I would say it's worth it to go and enroll in Sell More Books so that you can, use some of this coaching for your launch or continue straight from your coaching about your launch into Sell More Books. If you're not going to launch for like 6 months or maybe 12 months out, then I would say this doesn't make sense. All right, Jennifer says booked. Paula says success. Hanit says I tried a few times and it didn't work. Looks like we have limited availability. Sorry about that, Bonnie, and sorry about that to anyone else who has experienced. It looks like Jennifer and maybe, oh, so cool. So Karina said, yeah, now it worked, but I had to do it 4 times. So hopefully that's not on. Hopefully that's not that the system's broken. Maybe it's that a bunch of people are trying to book a call. Either way, I apologize for the confusion and for the frustration there. Hopefully, if you tried to book a time that you're able to, and actually, so there's a couple things. If you're struggling with this, all you is like if you're struggling with booking a time, all you have to do is email support@self-publishingschool.com or give us a call at this number, and we can help you out with that. So email us or give us a call, or if you just want to post in the chat here, still not working or I need help, then I'll have someone on my team personally follow up with you. So that's all you have to do there is post in the chat and let me know that it's working. So do that and cool. All right. Paula says 5th time was the charm. Love it. So, and doesn't remember what time. So, and Williams looked like it was booked. So you should get a confirmation email that's going to share with you the time and also set some expectation about what to expect. So great point. Go ahead and check for that email. And then also go ahead and put that in your calendar. So you should get a calendar invite, and that'll make sure that we're going to call you exactly on time at the number that you provided. So make sure that you click the link, or sorry, that you check for the email and put it in your calendar. That way you don't miss it. And it'll also have the time there. Alan says, my book isn't finished yet. Can I contact you when it is? So Alan, what I'd recommend, this is kind of what I was just touching on a second ago. I'd go ahead and book a call through this link. So self-publishingschool.com/movement. And we can chat with you about how to get your book done. So I'm not sure whether or not you're an SPS student yet, but we could help with that process. Oh, cool, Beth. Launching soon. Awesome. So yeah, we could definitely. I think that makes sense, Beth. Let's see. The third time's the charm. Hanit says yes. Book the awesome. Scott, my book was launched 2 months ago. So honestly, this will be a perfect time for you, Scott. I can't remember whether you said you're a failed launch Fred or successful launch Sally, or maybe successful launch Scott. But this would be a perfect time to chat about, okay, cool. Now, how do we build off of this launch and sell more books long-term? All right, Kara, still not working, unfortunately. Okay, try to refresh one more time. I'm sorry about that, Kara. And then if that doesn't work, then I'll just have someone on the team reach out to you. All right, let's see. I'm seeing a couple other questions here. Whoops. All right. Sorry about that. There we go. Sorry about that. Seeing a couple other questions here. I'm going to take about probably 10 more minutes worth of questions. All right, let's see. Yes, so some folks asking, how do these apply to fiction? So yeah, a lot of the fundamentals here still apply to fiction. So we have fiction and nonfiction modules in the course. So we talk about in there how to do this, whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction. Great question. And I know we had a lot of fiction authors in our beta group and in our first couple of classes of this, and they just absolutely loved it and raved about it. Let's see, would you do a children's picture book on Kindle? Yes, you could do that on Kindle and also a print book, and I would recommend that you do both formats. Let's see. William says, I'm an SPS student, but somehow fell off the process and got bogged down in the process and stopped writing. Got to make this work. Absolutely. So let's make sure that if you still have coaching calls, I'm not sure if you used all of them, then let's make sure that we get you, get your next coaching call booked. So if that's the case, then just reach out to team@self-publishingschool.com. Or if you book a call, we can chat about, if you don't have coaching calls, how to get you more of them, or whether or not it would make sense to go into sell more books, or kind of what that would look like. A couple of you were asking earlier how to create an audiobook. Yes. So how we do this, we actually have detailed instruction on this in Self-Publishing School, as well as we have a blog post online. If you just search how to make an audiobook, Self-Publishing School, you'll find that too. You can either hire a voice actor or do it yourself. So you can record a mic and do it, you can get a mic and record it yourself, or you can pay to outsource it and have someone help you with the process. Licia booked. Love it. Let's see. Paula says, thanks, Chandler. Looking forward to talking with one of your staff. All the best to you. Thank you, Paula. Lisa Pinkham, can I get your personal promotion retroactively? Say that 5 times fast. Retroactively applied since I had my call just before I came on this webinar? Absolutely. Yeah, we can definitely do that. Let's see. Is it ever a good idea to launch 2 books as a set? My collection of funny short stories about a raccoon is perfect for companion books that's a picture book for kids. So what I've seen work well here, Beth, is to launch 1 book, then the next one, and then launch as a set. So we've had, then a set, but do them individually, because now then you're able to have multiple launches, sell more books individually, and then have another launch that's the launch of the set. So it's an excuse to have multiple launches and multiple kind of pops in sales. And I've seen that model work really, really well, both for friends of mine and for our coaches. I think we've got a couple coaches that have done this, and it works pretty well. Oh, yeah. So the link for coaching. Yep. So Williams, that's team@self-publishingschool.com if you want to email. So that's, obviously if you're already a student and you see if you have additional coaching calls left or anything like that. Love it. I'm going to take a couple final questions here. If you haven't already, go and head on over to self-publishingschool.com/movement. If you want to talk with one of our experts on the team to get a customized strategy for you on how to sell more books and to talk about how you can join the Sell More Books movement. Okay. I would highly encourage you, if you're on this webinar right now, you're one of the motivated people who's stuck all the way to the end. So don't let this be another webinar where you just show up, learn some stuff, get inspired, and then don't do anything about it. We want to help you take this thing to the finish line. This is really important to us. Your success is our success, right? So we want to help you be successful with this book. So if you haven't already, if you're on the fence about whether or not this is right for you, I would encourage you to just go ahead and book a call. The cost of the phone call is free. I've covered the cost for you. You just have to take it seriously. You got to show up ready to learn and ready to be coached. That's really, really important. And if that's you, and if this is something that you're serious about, then I would really encourage you to go ahead and book a call. We're here to help. We'd love to help you sell more books. Again, we just believe that authors change lives, right? And not only will selling more books change your life, the life of your life, the life of your family. It'll change your income. It'll change all those things, but it'll also change the lives of all those people who buy your book, right? Which is really, really powerful. I read a lot of books, and my life has been changed through so many of those books. And just think about that impact that you'll be able to have for your readers. So this is something that's really important, especially if you believe in what you're writing, if you believe in the message behind your book. I'm a firm believer that it's your moral obligation and duty to get that book in as many hands as possible. Because if people aren't reading it, they can't have their lives be changed. And if you're not marketing and selling more books, then they're not reading it, right? So it's kind of this cycle of you got to get your book out there in as many hands as possible, so that you can change lives and so that you can increase your income. So obviously, I'm super passionate about this. We've helped a lot of people through this process, and we'd love to help you as well. So go ahead and book a call right now if you haven't. We got just 3 minutes or so left here to book a call and be eligible for that fast action bonus. So go ahead and book a call. And then obviously, once you've booked a call, comment in the chat here and just say, I booked a call. So if you booked a call and you haven't let me know yet, or if you're just booking, just comment in the chat and say, I booked a call. Love to give a shout out to final folks who are booking a call here. We got a good amount of people who are, we got a good amount of people here on this webinar still. And it's more than that of booked calls. So if you haven't yet, it's time to do it. Let's make this thing happen. I see Joe Airy booked a call. Williams says the call is a no-brainer. They're only here to help. Absolutely. Scott Smith, 5th time was the charm. Awesome. Good to hear, Scott. Excited to hear about your book. Jeff, does Self-Publishing School take a portion of future sales and royalties? We do not. So this is really exciting. unlike traditional publishers, we don't take any of your royalties. So when you sell more books, you're going to keep 100% of the royalties that you earn, right? And so this is really, really powerful. And this is how you're able to make a return on investment, a return on your investment so much faster, is because you keep those royalties. Dorothy says, I booked a call, but they have a wrong phone number. What do I do now? So reach out to the person. So reply to the email with a calendar invite and just let them know your correct number in there. Yep. Awesome. I'm going to take a final question or two. Karina says, what if I want to have my fiction book go into Hollywood? Do you have any experience with this? So we actually there's an expert coaching call where we have somebody who works on Hollywood scripts. So yes, believe it or not, who talks about, hey, how do you get your book to the big screen? So we have some training on this specifically. Great question. Love it, Beth. Book to call. Awesome. Excited for you, Beth. Let's see. How do you make sure your reviews are verified purchase reviews if they've given them an advanced copy or book? Yeah, so they'll have to either download a free copy or a paid copy of the book through Amazon for it to be a verified purchase or a verified review. Awesome. Well, hey, I'm going to go and close down the webinar here. Again, I hope that you learned a ton. I know that I kind of just covered a lot over the course of the last hour and 22 minutes that we've spent together. Covered a lot in this time. And I hope that you learned something. And more importantly, I hope that you implement what you've learned. So if you got a lot out of this training, if you learned a lot, I would encourage you to book a call and let's talk about how we can kind of lay out a personal roadmap for you and how we could potentially work together in the Sell More Books program. This is something I'm really passionate about. It's only going to get better. We're going to continue to add content, continue to add contributors. And I firmly believe that we're going to create a movement that elevates the success of authors around the world. This is something I'm really, really, really passionate about. And obviously, if you're a self-publishing school student and you've gone through the program, you know that we deliver on what we say we're going to deliver. And I hope that you found that some of the best money that you've spent is going through the process, and how much money you've saved in the process, how much time you've saved in the process, how much additional books that you've sold or money that you've made off the book as a result of the process. So if you went through that program, you know that we deliver, and we will deliver once again and Sell More Books. Or if you haven't, done business with us, you can just Google us, look on our website. I mean, you can see we've got tons of successful students, happy customers, people who love our products, love what we do, and most importantly, that they found it helpful for them specifically, and it's saved them a lot of time, it's saved them a lot of money in the process, and helped them make a whole lot more money. So if you're looking to sell more books, look no further. This is a great opportunity, a great resource. I would encourage you to go ahead and book a call right now. So all you have to do is go to self-publishingschool.com/movement or click the blue schedule now button, and then just come back here and comment in the chat and just let me know that you booked a call. And I saw Jeff just put booked a call. Lisa Pinkham said movement equals revolution of valuable ideas. I completely agree. Karina says, thank you so much, Chandler. Loved it. Have a great day from Denmark. Awesome, Karina. Go and book a call if you haven't already. And everyone else, I'll just give you your last chance here. Go and click that link. I'm about to close down the webinar. So if you haven't already opened it in a new tab, make sure that you do so, because obviously when I close down the webinar, that link won't be available anymore. So go ahead and click that link, open it in a new tab, and we look forward to chatting with you about your book. We look forward to hopefully helping you sell more books over the next few months. So thanks again, once again, for joining me here on this training. We look forward to chatting about your book. Go ahead and book a call if you haven't already, and we'll talk to you real soon. See ya.